Welcome. We're about to explore a story that's over 2,000 years old, but you'll see it feels like it could have been written just yesterday. It's all about the difference between loving an idea and having to face its reality. It's a pretty simple question, right? But it goes deep. What actually happens when the object of your affection, this thing you've built up in your imagination, suddenly shows up right in front of you? Well, an ancient Chinese story has been exploring that very question for centuries. So what you're looking at on the screen right now is a four-character Chinese idiom. It's called a chengyu. You can think of these as distilled nuggets of wisdom, and each one has a story behind it. And this one, well, this one tells a really fascinating and cautionary tale about love, fear, and the surprising gap that can exist between the two. Let's just take a moment and break this down character by character. The first one you see is pronounced Ye. This can refer to a place, the region of Ye, and it also refers to the man who is in charge of it, Lord Ye. This second character here is Gong. Now this is a title of respect, kind of like Lord or Duke. So when you put those first two characters together, Ye Gong, we get our main character, Lord Ye. Moving on to the third character, we have Hao. This one carries the real heart of the phrase, the core emotion. It simply means to love, or to be fond of, to have a really great liking for something. And the final character, this powerful one at the end, is Long. This means dragon, that mythical, celestial creature that's so central to Chinese culture. Okay, so let's put it all together. Ye Gong Hao Long, Lord Yi loves dragons. But the idiom really describes someone who claims to love something, but they only love the idea of it. The minute they're faced with the real thing, they're terrified or just totally unprepared. It's all about a superficial kind of affection. So where did this idea even come from? Let's dive into the fable itself. It was recorded way back in the Han Dynasty by a scholar named Liu Xiang. So the story goes, there was this man, Lord Ye, and he had an all-consuming passion for dragons. I mean, his obsession was everywhere. His belt hooks were carved with them. His wine cups were etched with their images. His entire home, every wall, every beam, every single pillar was covered in these magnificent dragon carvings. His fame as the world's biggest dragon fan spread far and wide. So far, in fact, that it reached all the way up to the heavens. A real living dragon heard about Lord Yi's devotion and was just so moved. It thought to itself, wow, here is a man who truly appreciates me. I have to go visit him. And just like that, the celestial dragon descended from the clouds. Can you just imagine the scene? The dragon gently pokes its enormous head through Lord Yi's window, maybe to say hello, while its long, coiling tail stretches all the way into the main hall of his house. So what did Lord Ye do? Did he celebrate? Welcome this incredible creature he supposedly adored? Not at all. He screamed. He turned pale, completely lost his senses, and just fled in absolute terror. The reality of a dragon, its scales, its size, its sheer presence, was absolutely nothing like the pretty pictures he loved. And right here is the moral of the story. Just as Liu Xiang wrote it down, it became crystal clear that Lord Ye didn't actually love dragons. He only loved the image of dragons. He loved the symbol, not the substance. And that's usually where the story ends. But the thing is, this fable does a huge injustice to the real man it was based on. So it begs the question, who was the historical Lord Ye? Because behind this fable of a cowardly fool, there's a story of a really capable and respected historical figure. And honestly, the truth is way more interesting than the myth. This chart really lays out the contrast, doesn't it? The fable paints him as this cowardly fool, obsessed with symbols and totally afraid of reality. But the historical Lord Ye, whose actual name was Shen Zhuliang, was a respected governor, a brilliant engineer, and a man who quite literally stabilized his entire kingdom. So who was this guy really? Well, for starters, he was descended from royalty. He was appointed governor of a key strategic area when he was still a young man. And when a rebellion threatened to tear the whole kingdom of Chu apart, he didn't run. He led his forces, put down the coup, and brought back order. But here's what's truly amazing. Instead of grabbing power for himself, he humbly handed it back to the rightful heir. He is so revered, in fact, that he's considered the founding ancestor for everyone with the last name Yi. And if all that wasn't enough, he was an engineering visionary. Around 489 BCE, he organized this huge water management project to irrigate tens of thousands of acres of farmland. Now, to put that into perspective for you, as you can see on this timeline, his project came more than 200 years before the famous Dujiangyan irrigation system. The man was centuries ahead of his time.
So, why? Why would such an accomplished person become the butt of a joke in a fable that makes him look like a total fool? This really brings us to why this story has stuck around and what it can teach us today.
Most historians believe the fable was never meant to be a personal attack. It was probably written centuries later by Confucian scholars who wanted to critique other ways of thinking. They just used Lord Ye as a handy symbol for people who talk a big game about high-minded ideals but can't actually put them into practice. So the story survived not because it was true to the man, but because its metaphor is so true to human nature. And we see this kind of thing all the time, right? For instance, you could say someone is a Lord Ye loving dragons if they claim to want a demanding, innovative job at a startup, but then they quit the second they have to work a weekend. They loved the idea of the startup, but not the reality of the grind. It's really just a timeless lesson in being authentic. Learn Chinese one story at a time.